Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rodeo Time podcast. I have in the house today a very special guest, my sister, and we're going to talk about beef prices, why they're so high. She's going to basically tell us exactly what the market is going to do. That way we can make all the money that we want. So it's not even gambling.
It feels like a setup.
It's not even gambling. There's a lot of people out there depending on you right now.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate because we know that I don't know, but thanks for having me.
Would you like a ranch fuel?
Only the best flavor.
Are you nervous? You've asked a lot of questions.
I'm not nervous so much as I'm just not really sure why I'm here because I'm not an expert in pretty much anything.
Well, you are compared to me.
I kind of feel like the day you didn't have anybody to pick up and you needed somebody, and so you told me to get on the horse. And maybe you're just a little desperate, so you called your sister.
I don't
Ran out of people.
I was not desperate.
Little desperate.
But I feel like you're studied up. You do the commercial steer thing, which I love and am a fan of. I have spent way more time working on the behavior of the bovine and getting them in the pen rather than even just the nutrition or health of them and or how to make money on them. So I usually spend more time focused on the romantic ranching cowboy side of cattle rather than the cattleman side of cattle. And I'm okay with that. I am very okay with it. But as a rancher, I do need to be efficient. And when we go to weaning calves, it's easy to be efficient if you already own them. But if you want to go back and, get some wheat pasture cattle or buy young cows, I think a lot of people are scratching their heads at how do we make money doing this? And there's questions like that I think it's like, what is the next move?
What is the next move?
What's happening right now?
There's a lot of things happening right now that have tightened your margin. It's extremely difficult to maximize your profitability. As a sidebar, there are a whole host of experts that you could have on your podcast to talk about beef cattle prices, trade markets, consumer demand. I am not it, so I will just give that. This is not medical advice. Consult your physician. Disclaimer.
Yeah, that's fine. But I think you're a real person. I mean, this is what y'all do for a living.
You should probably have my kids on here to talk about it.
This pays your bills.
Sometimes.
And you are, touche. I guess I'm just saying, like,
you may be making some assumptions.
No, I think that you're a real person that's in the thick of it. You're a practitioner, and your opinion is valuable. So I'm not saying that there's not an expert out there that can't also explain it and get down into the weeds, but we don't need to get into the weeds. That's not why people listen to the Rodeo Time podcast, unless we're talking about bull riding. We get into the weeds about bull riding a lot, and I miss you, yeah. So, you don't have to be the expert on it, but to myself and a lot of people listening, you're definitely considered an expert.
Thank you. What's the question? What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? What weeds are you picking?
Why are cattle prices so high right now?
High cattle prices. We have a low national cow herd supply. Like, numbers are down, lower than they've been since the 50s and 60s. National cow herd, just basically numbers. Cattle on feed are down, less than 100 million cattle. A number of factors have gone into that. Drought, resources for producers or ranchers to have access to one, quality feed supply, lower amount of forages being harvested, which is in turn driving up feed cost. So you're talking about making money whenever the margins are extremely thin. It's very difficult to do that whenever you have higher calf cost, you have higher cost of production, you have higher grazing cost, higher feed inputs. Profitability is being tightened. The cow herd needs to come back. It will increase, but in the meantime, because it hasn't, the United States makes the best beef in the world, and the rest of the world wants it. So we have an increased supply, not just domestically, but also an increase in demand, not just domestically, but also abroad. We eat a lot of beef. It is now like the ultimate protein source, and preferred over other protein sources. You carnivore man know that, but tell me where you want me to go.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I've got a lot of questions.
We didn't even get into screwworms. We didn't even get into imports or exports or.
So our beef being so good, what is it? Why is it so much better than other countries?
American beef is excellent. It's superior to all other sources of beef worldwide.
How is it superior?
Superior in quality, superior in flavor, superior in how we have maximized genetics to be able to create a safe, wholesome, quality protein source. And that is a desirable product that we've done a really good job of continuing to supply to the consumer. And in the meantime, that increase in demand is taking place. There were a number of factors that went into low cattle on feed because of the drought that started in 20 that reduced our feed sources.
That was another question I had. Cattle prices are inverted with feed prices, right?
Well, so as your cost of feed is going up, the cost of the production of the beef is also going up. Your margins are going to get smaller. And tariffs marginally, that we don't know the fallout of that yet. We don't know how that's going to influence the cost of beef because as tariffs are going up or as exports are shutting down, all of that's taken into account. For example, whenever the border shut down because of New World screwworms, that's going to have a direct impact on some cattle prices because we're not going to be importing beef. We're going to have an increase in cost to produce as much beef as we need to meet our own demands.
So how far out will, like, say, a drought in 2020, like how far out will it affect the beef prices?
So if you think about the beef cycle, if the drought happened in 2020 and producers were required to reduce their inventory, they're having to sell off cows and take them to the packing plant or take them to the sale barn because they literally don't have enough feed to manage the animal. This trickle down effect is that those cows are being sold. They're not being retained. They're not being replaced with heifers. So our herd numbers stay low. In the meantime, we don't have enough groceries to feed them. The cost of those groceries are going up, and we are having to maximize all of our inputs, continuing to compress our profit margin, and it will be cyclical. We'll hit our bottom, and then we'll have a growth period in the cattle market, and producers will have to make some decisions because we're spending more money on the animal. It's costing more to raise that animal. The animal is more valuable. So are you going to maximize that profitability right now and see a return on the animal because you've taken it to harvest, or are you going to retain it so that you can produce calves in the future and extend that profitability opportunity?
Mm-hmm. So that's the big question.
If you don't have the grazing, if you don't have the groceries, if you can't afford to feed the animal and you need to maximize the income because the price is so high right now, you're taking that animal to the sale barn or to the wholesaler and maximizing profit today, but then you got to start over. And so that process, that rebuilding phase, I mean, you're talking 3 or 4 years before you're going to see
34 years,
3 to 4. 3 to 4.
So I guess this is just like a weather question, but is the rest of the world not quite experiencing what we have with more rain than we've ever had since 1955?
Do you remember when I said I wasn't an expert, but...
Well, that's just I don't know, I know there's obviously, like, I know Arizona was bad.
It does rain in other places too.
Right, but I know Arizona was bad, dry, and they got some rain. Because I've got friends over there with Snapchat, and they were just like, people were just taking stuff to the sale barn left and right. But I didn't know if there was I will
say, we've had record rainfall in the months of May and June in our part of the world, in our little microcosm of a world. But historically, since 20, over the last 5 years, we have not had adequate moisture.
Okay.
And so there's an opportunity here to rebuild, but we're also, it hasn't rained all month, so we're not talking about consistent opportunity.
Why is it that? What are the reasons people would label some of these major packers as boogeyman?
Well, I think that there's a lot of assumption on where the money in the supply chain goes. The ranchers profitability is going to peak whenever he markets his animal. He's no longer attached to the value or the profit margin there. Cost of everything in the supply chain from cow-calf all the way to the grocer has increased. And so someone is going to see that, and it's going to ultimately be the consumer. It's not going into the rancher's pocket. It's not always going into the wholesaler or the packer's pocket. It's not always going into the grocer's pocket. And so because each of those pieces of the supply chain are also increasing in their expenses and their costs, they're passing that on. And again, margins are slim. And so now you're looking at record high beef prices because demand is up, supply is down, cost of everything is more. I think in July, ground beef was an average of $6 across the nation. So it will probably
$6
a pound. So it will
golly.
It will probably level out, maybe not dramatically, but we might see a reduction in the fall whenever we as a society or culture are not consuming as much quality beef as we are right now, like over the 4th of July or Labor Day weekend is coming. So we're going to probably transition out of the demand for the premium cuts. But if you talk about $6 ground beef, consumers who are pursuing beef as their primary protein source are going to have to make the decision, well, if I'm already spending that much on ground beef, why would I not go for a more superior cut, which is also increasing. But I think a 12% increase for steaks versus a 10% increase in ground beef was the last beef price report.
I've noticed like when you go to maybe get a ribeye, they used to come in packs of 2, and there's way more packs of 1 now.
What if that has more to do with like us as a society and what the consumer looks like? Because we used to.
I just thought maybe because of the price of, it's closer
to a price point that a person is going to pay. Yes, to consume to buy 1 versus 2, but maybe people are going on less dates. A lot of theories there. I really thought that's why you called me on here. We could talk about some conspiracy theories.
Yeah, we could talk. Well, like one conspiracy theory is that Donnie has is that they are driving up beef prices so that everyone sells out and the big guys can take over. Which I think
is this back to your boogeyman question?
I think that's where I was going with that. And he doesn't know who they are. Those conspiracy theories might come from, no offense to Donnie, but just maybe some uneducatedness.
Maybe.
I want to use that word rather than ignorance, but
I think there's influence. There's an interesting combination of influence on market prices, and so like you can get.
You think they are being influenced?
I would believe that there are influences. There are ways in which the market gets manipulated, and it's happened our whole life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about them out loud, but
wow.
there have just been some scenarios that have directly, negatively, dramatically impacted the beef industry. Like when we were little, things had happened. Okay, well there.
What's wrong with talking about that?
The O word. That was like such a bad word when we were little.
Yeah, Oprah was talking about mad cow. Don't worry, I don't think she listens to this podcast.
Well,
and if she does,
should be
we're
your
just
next
speaking
guest
facts.
Speaker.
But she mentioned mad cow disease, and that like affected the beef industry like crazy.
Well, I think the beef industry does a really good job of mitigating risks against itself, whether that's through the beef checkoff or some marketing efforts that continue to promote the positive image of beef that we know exists. And I think there's always going to be threats to the industry because of, what did you say, not ignorance, uneducatedness?
Yeah, but the mad cow thing affected the industry in a very negative sense.
Right. So in 2003, I was graduating high school. BSE was confirmed on the Canadian border. Canadian imports, exports shut down. And then there were a couple of confirmed cases in the States. And that dramatically impacted the beef industry because primarily the concerns over, is it safe? Are we selling beef to our neighbors? Are we able to take in beef? And that type of disruption is dramatic. So that's happening right now. In November, New World Screwworm was confirmed near the Guatemalan border outside of Mexico, and that shut down the Mexican border for cattle imports. So that was a very similar situation where the powers that be made a decision based on.
I think the scary thing for people when they heard Oprah talking about mad cow was that if people consumed that meat, that it would affect them. And that was what Oprah was suggesting. With the screwworm, I think common sense is like, man, it's contagious. I don't think a lot of people would assume that eating beef from cattle that had screwworms would affect them and their nutrition.
Well, the screwworm piece is really more about like the threat of death and not even having that as an accessible product, and not even just to the beef industry, like to wildlife, to...
Yeah, no, it's all scary, but I'm saying that like it's not going to affect the end consumer when it comes to like if you ate that beef. I think that's what that's what I remember.
The direct threat against
the
your
mad
life.
cow deal was like, hey, don't go eat the beef that's in the grocery store right now. And I think that was what made all the lawsuits start happening. I guess my question is today, the influences similar to the Oprah, but the outcome is different where the beef prices are higher and it really sucks for the end consumer. But as of right now, there's a lot of producers going to the barn that are excited about a little more money in their pocket. Now, if they got to restock their herd,
they have to restock at a higher
there
price.
are some people winning in this scenario, I guess is what I'm saying. Me being one of them, because I do keep my heifers. And so I'm not short on cows. Like I've not just sold all my cows. Because if somebody, let's say you do have grass.
How are you winning?
If you do have grass like we do, I'm not just selling out. So if you have a little bit of self-control and you don't just sell all your cows. Now I don't have one cow that's open and dry and open. Like I've sold all of them, but I'm still keeping my heifers. I've not changed my program. So I guess I'm just selling the calves and cows I would have sold otherwise, and they're just bringing more money. So there is a sweet spot now.
That's definitely the sweet spot. But
for guys that
the self-control concept is where I would pause and say, I think there's more to it than that because of the increased cost of production, because of the shrinking profit margin, because of the...
Yeah. I feel like it's relative though. It's almost, I'm not trying to argue with you at all. I guess what I'm saying is for the mad cow thing, everybody in the industry took a hit and it was an L. Right now, I think there are some random producers that, they've got their cows. They don't feel like it's an L at the moment because we're not having to restock our cow herd. So we're just getting more money for the calves. Yes, we're paying more for feed. I'm sure vet bills also. I haven't checked the price of, LA 200 in a while, but regardless, the end consumer's hurting. I guess what I'm saying is... I think
it also matters who you're talking about in the supply chain, because what you're talking about is your cow-calf operation. So where we unloaded 2,000 M-branded Mexican calves and 2 days later the border shut down, we were not unloading anymore for a while. So that our inputs were literally unavailable.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about two different things, because the screwworm thing, I definitely haven't seen the way that's maybe affected the industry has not hit me yet, personally. Well, maybe it has. Maybe if that's one of the reasons that cattle prices are up. But I guess I was just talking about, because the prices were coming up before the screwworm deal showed up, right? Mm-hmm. So what has possibly influenced our industry from a boogeyman perspective, from a deep state perspective? Like, what is even possible to have influenced the industry to raise those prices? If you're talking to Donnie, who's got the conspiracy theory, like, do you feel like that is happening? There's some type of influence somewhere that's more political than it is just
I think there is always going to be a political manipulation, an effort at an agenda that we may or may not be privy to. And in this case, I think there's a variety of ways in which it can show up. So you were talking about BSE and the influence of the threat to the consumer, and then the consumer no longer finding beef appealing because it's going to kill you, or whatever their belief is, because that's what's being marketed to people. I think we as an industry have done a much better job of offsetting that degree of ignorance, because we are marketing our product on purpose and informing the consumer, number one, that we do provide the safest, most wholesome, most quality beef supply in the world. We've created a desirable product. So all of these are things that can offset whatever the conspiracy theory concept of market manipulation is that may or may not exist. I think there's different types of threats to us outside of that. The natural ones, like whether it's the drought or the threat of a disease or infestation of a parasitic larva that eats live flesh, right? Like those are things that are actually happening. And the way in which that information is spread, I think, is part of an agenda that could be detrimental to the beef producer.
Some major university, Harvard or something, put out some study that some crazy cereal, maybe Fruit Loops, were more healthy than beef. Like stuff like that. To me, that might be more of just like a crazy left wing agenda. Or
well, there's definitely an agenda. I don't know who's doing that for what gain, but the food pyramid didn't seem a little inverted. I mean, I don't need to eat a loaf of bread every day, but
yeah, that's wild. So I guess that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but might as well go down it. Talking to Paul Saladino,
your carnivore man,
the carnivore man, he was talking about like his, because I did, the thing that got me interested in the diet was the fact that Jordan Peterson and his daughter, Michaela, are on the Lion diet, which is just beef, salt, and water, which sounds super hard to do. And but their autoimmune diseases started to, the symptoms started to really subside, and like skin disorders and stuff like that. And so I was like, dang, not only can they survive on this, but they thrive on it. So like it cures things. So I looked at the carnivore diet, which is anything from an animal. But in doing that study, I heard somebody on one of Michaela's podcasts say a random fact, and somebody can fact check me, but 50% of everyone that dies from heart disease, from a heart attack, did not have high cholesterol. And I would have thought the way that society treats cholesterol, that it would be more like maybe 98% of the people that die from a heart attack had high cholesterol. I had been studying cholesterol because our dad died of heart attack, and mom got us all these tests to get our cholesterol checked. And so I finally did it in 2020 after we filmed the Netflix show, and it was like crazy high cholesterol. Not crazy high, but what society would deem high, that was what it was. And so that's what got me researching all this and stumbled on the Lion diet. Fast forward, I hear this fact, like half of people that die of heart attack didn't have. It's possible that Pop's cholesterol wasn't high.
It wasn't.
And he died of a heart attack. When I look back at, I don't know, I think stress could be, it's a theory. It's a theory that high cholesterol, and so I have my own theories. Regardless, I've started to eat a lot more beef and whatnot. Paul Saladino thinks that based on all the research he's done, it's way more connected with like insulin resistance, which would, there's a meme saying, don't blame salt for what sugar's always done. And so the way we treat bread, for instance, and how carbs will turn to sugar in our bodies, and then we just eat sugar. All these things have impacted essentially the way, not only the way I eat, but the way I view information that could potentially come from the government, or like Harvard when they say that Fruit Loops are more healthy than beef. So that's my spiel. People that are avid listeners to the podcast have heard it probably half a dozen times. Whatever. I guess, are there more people starting to lean that way, starting to think that way, and how has that affected the industry?
I think that beef has been well marketed, well protected, well promoted. We've done a much better job. I mean, you said it a while ago, beef, it's what's for dinner. Not just from a cute tagline, but from an empowerment of information standpoint, so that consumers know the quality of the protein that they're getting, not just protein, but like 10 essential vitamins, zinc, iron, off the charts, ultimate source of nutrition for your body. And they're informed, they're educated, they're much more willing to make a decision based off of not just how it tastes, but what it's going to do for them nutritionally. And then I think that there is a weaponization of information used against fill in the blank, like eggs are bad because of cholesterol. Are they? Are they the cause of high cholesterol? And then that research piece being weaponized against poultry or against the egg industry. I think that that is where we as producers have a lot of responsibility to step up and advocate for, one, adequate information, a willingness to share it with the consumer, and putting our money where our mouth is by the production of that product.
A lot of consumers are turning to like homegrown beef. What has that done to the industry, or has it really even affected it?
I think there's certainly a place for homegrown beef. It's important for me that my kids know where their food comes from. And so we eat our own beef, and we like the way it tastes. We like the product that we put on our plate. And from a consumer standpoint, I think a lot of people like to know where and how it was raised and what went into their product and what they're buying. I think that there's value in their own confidence of that consumption of the product because of horror stories or like boogeyman theories on what happens in packing plants or what happens outside of your own production measure. Geographically, I think we have access to greater resources than we did whenever we were growing up. We were not near anybody who could have a steer processed timely, and opportunities for animals to be harvested timely, safely, efficiently. We have access to resources in a way that we didn't 30 years ago. The world has gotten smaller, so we have a way to market that product locally and deliver it timely, fresh. We don't sell our own beef because we're just not in that market, but I know a lot of people and have a lot of friends that do and find a lot of success because their face is on their product. They're backing it. They can have full confidence conversations with the consumer who's also their neighbor, and people really like that. They trust that, and they are creating a product, an excellent product.
Is the beef that you get at Walmart really that unsafe?
I don't think that it's unsafe. I think it's a matter of preference and quality. I think that if you know you want a prime steak on your plate, you're not going to buy that at Walmart. And so
they do have prime.
But do they?
I'm asking, is it? Because they advertise it as prime.
There's a lot of label misconceptions, and I'm not bashing any grocer's product, but it's unlikely that you are going to have a true prime steak that you bought off of an XYZ grocery store shelf.
So
there's a premium market for that.
At United, they sell a lot of CAB.
Sure.
Which is Choice Plus, right?
Correct.
So
which is great. And a lot of people have a very specific request for that beef.
Usually the CAB steaks taste like it. Most of the time, the prime steaks from Walmart taste like it. Are they not? I mean, is that not just? Is that not USDA graded?
It is. If it's got a USDA grade on it, then that's legitimate. I'm just saying it's a rarity that you are going to have a true prime steak, unless you're at a white tablecloth fine dining establishment.
I'm definitely not trying to poke holes in beef sold privately at all. Who would grade that if it was prime?
Well, I'm asking if your label is saying that it's a USDA graded prime product or if it is being marketed as a prime product.
Right. I see what you're saying there. So like, for instance, if it called it, here's a premium steak, and they just like really capitalize on the first two letters of the word premium as
But by a
opposed to
quick
prime.
glance at the marbling, you can easily tell it's select.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is like, if you're getting it privately made, because I've had some privately made steaks, privately grown beef that might as well have been.
Yeah, it's not a
Not that
guarantee that,
great.
Everybody growing their own beef is doing a good job or that they're taking that's the other issue. If you're able to take your product to harvest whenever that animal needs to be harvested, that's tricky because if you're going to raise your beef and then
just the timing
getting
of
a
it.
kill spot, that's nearly impossible.
Yes.
And so by the time your animal's grown through the feeding period and you're ready to take it to harvest, but your kill spot's not for another 60 days. Like there's a magic to the math, and
Absolutely.
that's where you got to make the win.
Yeah, because in the feedlot, they've got so many going into their kill spots, quote unquote, that they don't have to be married to that one date for this one particular calf. If you're only feeding out 8, hey, either take it now or you're not going to get to slaughter your beef.
People who raise and sell their own beef have refined that process. They know what it takes to bring.
Some of them
have refined the process to know what it takes to time it, to pick the right animal, to have the right genetics, to know how many days on feed that calf needs, to know what the ration needs to be, to end up with the prime steak on your plate. Not everybody.
I guess what I'm saying is like I think it's possible that you may know where the beef is coming from and you do have that peace of mind, but it's not going to be prime because that particular family slaughtered 5 head that year. Well, they've got a kill date and turns out 4 of them were not ready or they were too ready.
60 more days on feed or
20 less or whatever it is. And on the flip side of that coin, you could get a CAB steak at United that is Choice Plus because they did have the luxury of killing that many that day. And they got to pick the ones that were ready.
So there's your consistent supply, like a mastering of a process. And that's where your supply chain, when we can't keep up with that funnel of beef into it, prices are going up. Where our supply is low and people are still wanting to consume beef at the same rate or higher than we historically have.
I like privately owned beef. I mean, there's probably going to be a 4/6 ad run during this podcast.
Hey, Ol'Son, if you're like me, you eat a lot of steak. I love to cut into a juicy, tender ribeye, cooked medium rare, and it came from the 4/6 Ranch. That's right. You can get your steak from 46steak.com. And for a limited time, now through the end of August, use code DALE and get 15% off on orders that are above $50. There's a link below. All you got to do is click it and go get yourself a ribeye, get a brisket, get whatever you want, Ol'Son. You'll be eating like a king, like Dale Brisby. And the odds are that I ranched on that steak, maybe even while I was filming Yellowstone. Well, Taylor Sheridan was filming it, but I was the star of the show. So go to 46steak.com. and use code DALE, Ol'Son.
The things that people throw rocks at in our industry is beef from the grocery store. Being a person on a platform talking to a lot of folks on the fence, I would say, hey, this beef is safe too.
Oh, sure. I don't doubt, I don't discredit, I don't have any qualms with beef from the grocery store.
And I wasn't fishing for any certain answer. That was just kind of something that I guess I felt like you probably agreed. I just kind of wanted to make sure.
As long as people are eating beef,
right?
That's the goal.
Because that's the beef that's going overseas that's so popular.
So you were talking about the delineation of grades in the grocery store. In our market, our prime steaks are going to white tablecloth restaurants.
Right.
Those CAB or Choice, those are going to end up in a well-marketed grocery store like an H-E-B or an Albertsons or a United or a Walmart. And then you've got your standards or selects or no rolls, and those are going to end up in your institutions. Those are going to end up in schools and prisons.
Yeah. If you go to Del Frisco's or Morton's or wherever and you get a prime steak, that was probably a steer that was fed corn up until the day it was harvested, correct? Like that some gun was grain fed. That's what made him taste so good.
Likely, yes.
Yes. How you feel about grass-fed?
I have no problem with grass-fed. I think that you feed your product to your end goal, and if that's what you want, if you like that flavor, if you like that...
Less flavor?
Some would just say a different flavor. Some may not even notice a difference in the flavor, but I'm not going to trash any method of beef raising, beef harvesting, beef growing, beef eating. And so it's just a matter of preference. And for whatever your reason is that you want that product, whether it's ethical, whether it's financial, flavor, nutritional. Nutritional is where I think we weaponize incompetence in the beef industry and we try to turn one product against another product.
That's what I feel like grass-fed does. Like I feel like the way some people use grass-fed is that grain-fed is like the worst. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with grass-fed, but I don't think there's anything wrong with grain-fed is the way I feel. Like the marketing is what makes me scratch my head as to like why we're throwing... Same thing with growth hormones. I don't know. Like just going through the basic math in my head. Well, the way somebody worded it, you can either be green or whatever, but you can't be both. Meaning like if everything was grass-fed with no growth hormones, we wouldn't be able to feed the country. We wouldn't be exporting anything.
Production standpoint, we would not be able to meet the needs of...
But, when a growth hormone makes, let's say, 1,000 head feed yard, it makes those cattle go from 7 pounds of feed, a feed conversion of 7 to 1 down to 5 to 1, and they're going to gain. So for every 1 pound of gain, you're having to feed that animal 7 pounds for them to gain that. Well, then you give them a growth hormone, and now all of a sudden it takes 5 pounds for them to gain that one. Well, you want them to gain, let's say, 3 pounds that day. So you're going from 21 pounds that you're feeding for them to gain 3 down to 15 pounds for them to gain 3. So in a 1,000 head feed yard, that's 6 pounds of feed a day per calf. So 6,000 pounds of feed was saved that day because of the growth hormones. So that's the reason, one of the reasons. Is it unsafe if the beef has been given growth hormones in your research lately? Like what is taught in your circles?
No. Hormonal modifier use in beef cattle is extremely safe for a number of reasons. So any products that we put into our beef are going to have a withdrawal date, and you do not harvest your animal within that time frame. Mm-hmm. And so
What's
implants...
the withdrawal date on Cinev XS or Ralgro? 0.
Hang on. I'm trying to find True just did a speech on this. She talked about outliers in the beef industry. And she should be the one talking about this. She talks about W.E. Dennison. He held the first experimental trials on administering estrogen to ruminants in beef cattle for the purpose of growth promotion. So the trial resulted in improved gain, feed conversion, and appetite. The first commercial implant came in 1957, and by 1997, a Texas A&M Extension publication verified that a single implant will increase weight gain 8 to 18% or 15 to 40 pounds in stocker cattle during the grazing season. A 2015 study showed that aggressive feedlot implant programs can result up to a 21 improvement in daily gain and up to an 11 improvement in feed conversion. So not by implant usage, by proper usage of hormone modification in beef cattle, you are decreasing your production costs, you're maximizing your efficiency of being able to convert feed to pounds like you were talking about a while ago, and ultimately turning your animal, your beef, into a conversion machine from whatever your feed source is, grain, corn, to protein on your plate.
Yeah.
more cost effectively, also safe. You can get into how many nanograms of estrogen are in one product versus another product. And on the list of most foods consumed by humans, an implanted beef product on your plate has the least.
Yeah. So I feel like that's something that's easily weaponized in our industry because of just the way the headline reads. And maybe it's because, when humans take steroids, there's certain side effects, they're going to be more aggressive. Maybe people are really think that the long-term effects of people have, I don't know what steroids do. I know a lot of people think I'm on them, but I'm not.
It's ranch fuel.
Regardless, the way it sounds, you could just read a headline and be like, this steak has had hormones and this one hasn't. Which one are you going to eat? Well, they're actually both completely safe. The research shows. But just because of the way the headline reads, people are going to just, whoa, that doesn't sound safe at all.
And not knowing enough about it, they're probably going to choose something that is labeled natural or all natural. But if you're informed and you're knowledgeable about the way that the product works in a steer, where it's administered matters, because we don't eat cattle ears. And so we put implants in the ear.
Between the ribs of the ear. Between the ribs of the ear.
And it's not a threat to the consumption of the product.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on a couple of podcasts where Sean Mike Kelly, he's out in Vegas, and during the NFR I went on their podcast, and he likes beef. He's not against eating beef at all, but it blew his mind that I would eat beef from Walmart. So that's
Why?
where, just because he is a consumer of just the everyday media on beef. He reads headlines. He's not going to go do his own research. He's a podcaster. He doesn't have time to do that. But if, the 7 people he interacts with that day have this opinion because they also read a headline and they know their girlfriend's hairdresser told them that, hey, beef gives you a heart attack. Also, don't eat the ones with hormones.
But she's
also,
an expert.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I guess I have this stance on it. And I have nothing against grass-fed beef. I don't think corn-fed is all that dangerous. I think that good animal fat, there's an argument to be made that good animal fat is more healthy in a lot of ways than kale, for instance, or spinach. And I don't know.
I think that the weaponization of the information is where the cattle market gets manipulated. And you were talking about influence a while ago and advocating and empowering people with information so that they can make an informed decision about what they're consuming. And I think that there are advocates, social media personalities such as yourself,
right,
who have done a really nice job of advocating for beef and sharing facts over fiction and kind of debunking some of those myths and like not wearing their tinfoil hat, just speaking facts that help us as a beef industry make sure our consumer is informed. There's a lot of examples. You should probably have those people on your show.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it. When you hear that Chipotle, for instance, uses Australian beef, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind is imports and exports and the cost of the product and what it costs to have that beef product brought in.
Why would they even use Australian beef?
I think generally it's always a cost assessment. It's not a matter of
so they're able to get cheaper beef from Australia?
I don't know Chipotle's supply chain, and I don't know their metrics for how they determine any of that. From a consumer standpoint, I would rather consume American-raised beef.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to be given the choice and not choose
Preach.
something that was grown in Texas.
Yeah, I agree. I just I assumed it was the cost. For some reason, some provider over there just made a deal with a chain of store, and I've heard there's more. I don't know what they are. I know Chipotle does. I mean, even Paul Saladino, his deal.
I would
comes
also
from,
assume they have a very specific shopping list, right? They're only serving certain cuts of beef and needing to meet that demand. So, like, I don't know, maybe they predominantly sell ground beef and flank steak and have to have a consistent availability of that product. So there's probably more to it than just cost, but ultimately, to be efficient in business, that's what it's going to boil down to.
I remember one of the subjects that came up a lot because you said the word. It reminded me of one question I did have was consistency. Like, I feel like a couple of times our speeches were in commercial steers were based on like product consistency and how that was an issue. But I don't feel as a consumer now. Well, I was a consumer then, but we just didn't get to eat a lot of steaks growing up. Looking back, like, I didn't realize I was
I said we were poor.
Well, I didn't realize I liked ribeyes until I got, almost out of college and I could buy my own. Like, I didn't realize that was my preferred cut from the animal.
But you knew that was the answer to the question.
The
What's
answer
your
to
favorite?
what question?
What's your favorite cut of beef? You knew that was the answer, or ribeye.
Yes, but I didn't realize. I mean, I knew it was a good cut, but I didn't realize that what we mainly had were sirloins. Where was I going? Oh, consistency. So, anyways, now that I do consistently have 1 or 2 ribeyes a week, I look at it like they're pretty consistent. I don't necessarily have that problem with, and maybe it's because I can glance down and tell the difference in marbling between, if I'm looking at 4 steaks, I know which one to pick. Is that less of an issue now? Surely we didn't just figure it out.
No, I think that it's been a very consistent increase in a lot of things. So genetics and the maximization of those genetics, and the beef industry has such a wider variety of inputs than other industries like pork or chicken. Like the process to create the steak on your plate is significantly longer than it is in the poultry industry. And so where they're able to maximize the replication of the exact same product over and over, the beef industry has had a more challenging time of doing that. Number one, there's a wide variety of breeds. There's a wide variety of ranchers and feedlots and breeders and growers. And so we're not talking about one specific supply chain. And so if we're going to talk about the boogeyman in the packing plant, they are trying to maximize a product and produce a consistent steak on your plate, where every time you go to the grocery store, you know what you like and you're able to buy that. And that has been a challenge in the beef industry that I think has been, the risks have been mitigated and the product is much more consistent. And so even those small producers who are selling from their local farmers market, growing their own beef, are able to do that because they know the animals that they want to breed. They have the right genetics. They're maximizing their inputs. They know their rations. They know what they can feed. And we, as a general beef industry, have done a much better job of producing a consistent product for the consumer.
Sell me on why I should eat beef rather than chicken as a cattle producer. Like, what would be your argument? Or somebody like, hey, I'm getting off of
It tastes
this
better.
vegan diet I'm on.
So I don't want to trash a protein source. And I think that as a beef producer, I mean, my kids raise chickens too, but we are predominantly a beef consuming household. And so we are going to maximize that as our number one protein source. Nutritionally, we are able to creatively enjoy our beef product by the way we cook it. We know how to prepare it. And I think maybe that might intimidate some consumers because chicken is generally cheaper regardless of the cut. It's also an easy product to cook, right? You can manipulate the flavor of that. You can make it into any and everything.
Yeah.
And maybe some people are intimidated by beef in the kitchen and not really knowing what to do with it.
You can't overcook it, but if you do, straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
Undercook, straight to straight to jail.
I'd rather eat overcooked chicken than undercooked chicken. I'd rather eat undercooked beef than overcooked beef.
Have you seen that video? That guy, overcooked, undercooked, straight to jail. That's what that he talks about cooking chicken in that clip. I appreciate. I don't know how much you know about chicken, but I realized too, around the same. I'd say after I realized I was a ribeye man. I am a thigh guy. I've always appreciated dark meat more so, but why is everyone so much higher on chicken breasts than they are chicken thighs?
I think it's just personal preference, and maybe
people prefer their chicken more dry.
I don't think it's a matter of like dry chicken versus moist chicken. I think it's a matter of a style of a cut or a texture and a consistency of knowing that it's going to be the same thing every time they put it in their mouth.
Is it that sometimes do thighs have a little more cholesterol to them? I know they act like they have a little more fat in them.
Why are you asking me these questions?
I'm just wondering because maybe that's why it tastes better.
I don't know. I would assume that.
I didn't bring you on to talk about chicken, so I'm not expecting you to know
about much of anything. But
yeah, you don't have to know. You don't have to. That's fine that you don't.
The cholesterol ratio of one chicken piece versus another chicken piece. I know I prefer it fried.
We can circle back to beef and why beef prices are so high.
I think beef prices are high because we're coming off of a drought. We have low inventory in our cattle. We have a high supply, a high demand, and there are some threats against the beef industry that are fabricated and manipulated, as we talked about earlier. There are legitimate natural disaster style of threats to the beef industry in the form of drought. And we talked about BSE, we talked about New World Screwworm.
How does it play out? Not the screwworm, just beef prices. What's on the horizon? I know you can't say when, but how do the producers?
So I think the cattle cycle will do what the cattle cycle does, and our numbers are low, and there'll be a 3 to 4 year rebuilding.
34-year rebuilding.
Good grief.
That's a long time.
3 to 4 year rebuilding phase. Speaking of, you're almost 40. You know that?
I'm over 40. I'm 57.
I'll have to remath
So you think that high prices could go as far as...
I think the high prices are staying for a while.
Like,
I'm not talking about like the ability for you to maximize your profit. I'm talking about the cost of beef in the grocery store to the consumer. What
about selling calves at the sale barn?
I don't know. Do you have some?
I will. Hearing it there,
So my question is, are you going to retain your heifers?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I've almost got my cow herd completely rebuilt because I'm working on most of my cows now. In 2021, I started keeping heifers, and most of my cows now are cows I raised.
So as you're rebuilding, what are you looking for? Are you focusing on genetics?
Yes, that's one thing. So I was talking to Dr. Harry Anderson of Total Feeds. He used to work in feedlot, and his opinion was the only reason you would keep heifers is if you're a fan of your own genetics. But I would say a second reason is because everybody says no, just sell them heifers, get the money, and go get yourself some 4 to 6 year old cows.
Fancy cows.
Not 46-year-old, 4 years to 6 year old cows. Well, they don't exist. You can't just, and I don't want somebody to tell me these are somewhere between the ages of 4 and 6 years old, because that means they're 8. But most of the time, if you talk to just a horse trading it's called horse trading because it's the oldest form of trade, and so cows are right underneath that. I'm going to go horse trade on my pickup I'm about to sell. That means you're just trying to get the best deal. And that's the way cows are when you go to try to buy an older cow. I've not had a consistent experience with that. And so I am in a position where I do sometimes have a small black bucking bull for a bucket list. I had Carlos, the man of love. He was a big He was a bigger Corini. Now I have Trunk, and he's kind of a bigger Dexter. So that's my heifer bull.
So are you maximizing your bull inventory for bucking or consuming?
So I've always got this
Bucking or
little
breeding?
side bull that is going to spit out small black calves.
I think you just need to get a good quality premium genetic bull.
I did have that at the start. So I had a bad experience, and I calved out 10 heifers, and I lost 3 of them.
How do you
Now,
feel about AI?
I don't know a lot about the bull, but I do know that 3 of those heifers died. And so I was kind of scared off of keeping my heifers.
Well, did you check EPDs? Do you know you had low birth weight?
But what I'm saying, it just, I know it was a big bull. I don't know what his EPDs were. I bought the heifers as bred heifers. I bought 14 that were pairs, and then they were like, well, we also got these other 10. So like these 14 had calved. So I got the other 10 that were just bred. Well, anyways, I had that bad experience. Well, then I have Carlos and Man of Love. I got Trunk. They're both small black bulls. So I start my heifer program 2021. I do like the genetics, not the first calf. The ones out of Carlos and Trunk, that's just the first calf that comes out of the heifer. Take those to the sale barn, heifers and steers. And then I follow it up. Now their second calf is going to be from, over the last few years, it's been R.A. Brown bulls. Those have gotten pretty pricey. And so now I lease bulls from a guy up in the Panhandle. And so I've been keeping.
I saw one of your cleanup bulls the other day.
Yeah.
He had like a thing
Oh, that bull?
hanging off
That's
his
not
head.
a cleanup bull. That's a
You did say-
YouTube bull.
you
I
did
wanted to
say-
use him, but
That's a bad idea.
yeah, I'm not going to use him for cleaning up. But regardless, the heifers I've kept have been out of R.A. Brown bulls and my cows, which have just been, and it's been a new R.A. Brown bull each year.
So you
So
kept
there's
the
not
heifers
any
in 21.
there's not any incest going
We're in
on.
25. Are you reaping benefits? What's your calf crop? Are you satisfied with where you are in your?
I haven't, because I run those smaller bulls on the heifers. I'll usually only keep like 10, because if they're kind of A-frame looking too much, I'll take them to the sale barn. So I'll keep 10 heifers, and then I'll palpate them, a couple months before they're supposed to calve to make sure. And if anything in there is open, I'll take it to the sale barn. Thank the Lord, in the 4 years I've been doing this, I've not lost a heifer. I've not lost anything. So worst case scenario, I just sell the heifer when she's 800, 900 pounds.
So what are the threats to your operation?
Well, there's a lot less now that I've got these smaller black bulls, and because most of these heifers we've only had to pull a few calves. Of course, I'm only keeping 10 a year. That's not that much, but eventually I've now got, most of my cow herd is less than 6 years old. And if I keep doing this each year, all right, I've got, let's say I end up with 7 heifer pairs ready to go into my herd. One was A-frame, the other 2 maybe didn't breed, but whatever. I sell them at the sale barn, so I get money on them. They're just bigger now. And then now I've got 7. I can either grow my herd, or I look at getting rid of some older cows. And I've almost gotten rid of all my old cows.
Your old cows are how old?
I have a cow right now that's 13. I'm going to let her calve out, and then I'll probably sell her, just because I don't want to take a risk on feeding her for an extra year. Wait until she's 14.
Only horses get to grow old and die. Right.
That's why we don't name the cows. But if you do name one, this 250, she'd be one to name. She's a sweetheart. I'm going to be sad to see her go. But she has a calf every year. I don't keep dry open cows. So I think somebody like me right now is probably able to hit a home run. I've got really good grass leases, and then I've got a wheat lease in the fall that some hunters, I pay for the seed. They hunt on it till January 1st. Then that's where my heifers go that I've weaned. And that's where I'll put the bull on them in March. And so when May rolls around, I'll kick them out, and they get cleaned up by the lease bulls I got out there.
By this one?
I was talking about this earlier. This is like the 4th time I've talked about my heifer program. I really hope that most of the audience. It gets me so excited, but I think it's probably boring.
Things.
It's probably boring to listen to. I say all that to say, I don't know. I feel like if you're the kind of person you like where your beef comes from, so you buy privately raised beef, then I'm the kind of person I like to know where my cows come from. So I raise my own cows. But I don't mind the beef at Walmart, so I guess I'm a little hypocritical.
I don't think it's hypocritical. It's just good
Oxymoron.
judgment.
Maybe it's an oxymoron. But I just think that sometimes when you get these cows that it's hard to find somebody ready to sell a 5-year-old cow.
Why would they, right?
Yeah, why would they? That's affordable. And usually if you get a 5-year-old cow at the sale barn, something's wrong with her. You know, she either runs off, jumps fences, open. So every now and then you get a heads up and it's somebody just selling out because they don't want to raise cows anymore. But then how much do you spend on her?
I'd rather keep a open cow than a running off cow.
Right. How long have we been talking? Yeah.
Boring.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I think it's just
interested.
it is interesting because it's what you love to do, and
We talk about it every day on the ranch. I mean, that's what everybody talks about. When you pull up next to your neighbor, when you go to the feed store, like everybody's like, golly, like either how much it rained or how high cattle prices are.
when is it going to rain?
It's got like a 24% chance later in the week. So hopefully it's going to. How did that affect you guys? So your two sources of income are cattle and your grain elevators. We got all that rain in the middle of harvest, and now it's
Rather untimely.
yeah.
What was it, like 25 inches in April, May?
I don't know.
Fact check that, but it was a lot, and it was not advantageous to a successful harvest.
What do they say? 1 out of 5 years with wheat crops, you hit a home run. Has that been y'all's experience?
Well, if we're talking about record lows, this would have been the one.
Really?
Yeah, since my birth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was unfortunate. It was difficult for everyone. I don't think there was anybody in that supply chain that did well.
That sucks. What about your yearlings? You guys hedged those. So you had some prices locked in, but they were probably pretty high too, huh?
Yeah, Chet took care of a lot of cattle this year, so we just got everything shipped, and now it's time to plow and start over.
Has the import thing changed at all with Mexico? He can't get cattle from Mexico right now?
So I think it was July 9th, the border was shut down again. So until something changes there, that's not an option.
So is it a market where he will? I mean, if you're hedging and locking in prices, then everything's going to be okay, huh? Typically.
And it's a matter of availability of grazing. And so he does a really good job of managing what he is going to grow where, because we grow certified seed, and then he'll take some to harvest and then he'll graze some. And so it looks different every year.
So when you say you're selling certified seed, like then you can market it as like non-GMO or whatever?
No.
What is that where the certain, like if it's all natural, it needs to have been fed wheat that was...
Oh, beef?
Yeah.
We're not doing anything.
That's not why it matters when you're putting them on certified wheat.
Our certified seed is grown for the resale to the wheat producer. And so when we harvest that seed, we have guaranteed everything from purchase of the product to the way in which it was planted and grown. The ground is inspected. Our seed handling facility is inspected. We map that seed purchase from the time we buy it, plant it, grow it, harvest it, clean it, and sell it so that the buyer knows it is 100% guaranteed to be certified seed.
You talking about how y'all's wheat seed is tracked every step of the way. So
every one of those production processes is inspected by the state.
Isn't there some legislation being talked about now for like the country of origin labeling with I mean, that's cool. That's one program, but tracking beef and all the way down to producers like myself.
Are you talking about like EIDs, electronically tracking?
Isn't there some legislation
Animal
where that might be
identification.
mandated to ranchers with as few as like
Yeah, there's a
4
voluntary
head of cows?
program, which voluntary just means we're going to let it be a good idea until they make you do it. So are you going to do it? Are you going to volunteer to?
No,
Why?
I don't feel like, I understand that people think, I don't think that the cattle industry is the Wild West like everyone does. I will eat beef from Walmart. So since we were in 3rd grade and we had our first set of commercial steers, I've had some sort of bovine every year since then. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we and then I went to an ag school. I studied animal science a lot in college. There's not really been any information that made me look up, scratch my head, and go, man, I don't trust the beef industry. And so I think that there are outliers. There's exceptions to the rule where you see some clip of somebody being inhumane to a dairy cow, and that person does need to be reprimanded. They shouldn't be treated like that when, the guy with the forklift is a long time ago trying to move a downer. And I get it, that sort of stuff. But you're going to have that in any industry. You're going to have
You get it in the rodeo industry all
You're
the
going to
time.
have exceptions in the rodeo industry. You're going to have exceptions in the church. You're going to have holes that, mistreat children, whatever. So I guess what I'm saying is like, I trust the beef industry. I do not want to lean towards more regulations from the government.
Well, I trust
That's
myself as a producer. And I think that it boils down to like, can you trust all producers? And should there be some sort of regulations? And should we have some implements in place to protect us? Yes. But do we need the protection from ourselves and the overreach that is taking place? I don't.
I like how they track it at the border. I feel like imports, like I don't mind that. I'd hate to lose my herd to screwworms because we weren't watching what came over from Mexico. But I don't
that's
think
interesting because the screwworms, they showed up in the 60s and were eradicated, and now they're back. And the method by which we will eradicate again is the same. It's similar. They're going to release billions of sterilized flies. Sounds like a terrible idea, but it's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. When Pop was at the Pitchfork, he said, he had been through TC Ranch Management, and there was an old time, I don't remember who it was, essentially saying like, they were talking about the difference in like all the information you can learn in college or from a textbook as opposed to just the cowboy way of life. And Pop was kind of defending, that college educated type cattleman. And he was saying, yeah, I mean, look at screwworms, science helped, the study of helped eradicate screwworms. And immediately that old timer popped off and said, yeah, and it ruined a lot of good cow horses too, because they weren't having to go out there and treat them every day. I think every time the word screwworm comes up, I think of Pop sitting in the cook shack at the Pitchfork having that conversation with somebody that was doctoring in the 60s, and just having to go rope every day and doctor screwworms. Not that I wish they'd come back, but
My dad, I wish he'd come back, but
that. I wish Dad would come back, not the screwworms.
I don't know. I don't know. And I mean, like Dad Club's kind of cool.
Yeah. We wouldn't get to make all these cool jokes. Like the one you made in 2020, May 2nd, posted about Dad having died on May 2nd, 7 years prior. And you said the social distancing champ, #6 feet. That was funny.
That's probably the only social media engagement you have offered your sister.
What do you mean?
I mean,
You don't think I give you shout outs enough?
No.
I'm putting you on my podcast.
I don't need a shout out. I don't even know why I'm on your podcast. I just need you to respond to the messages I send you. If you opened your phone right now and you went to Messenger.
Are you talking about Facebook?
Probably. Or Instagram.
Instagram?
Any
I will see
social
them
media platform.
on
Your
Instagram.
sister There are probably 678 messages in Facebook Messenger to my brother from his sister.
I haven't checked
not
my
acknowledged, not
Facebook
responded
messages in years. I
No
check my
exceptions made, people.
DMs
Not even for his sister.
on Instagram all the time. That's what I told Mom the other day. Maybe I
It's
shouldn't
really good
have.
stuff. I send you a lot of quality content.
I don't think I should have told Mom this, but I was like, no, Mom, I don't check Facebook. I check my Instagram messages. I don't know
So
how.
she went.
Now I get them all the time. Her and Cowboy Cerrone, they each send me
Together?
the most. No,
That's weird.
they each send me the most reels. But
If Dad were on your podcast, what would you ask him?
I mean, I probably would have maybe had this conversation a little bit. He would have been in the Texas Cowpuncher series that I do, where I talk to working ranch cowboys. I don't restrict them to Texas only. That's just where I live. And so most of the cowpunchers I put on are from Texas. Maybe I should just call it the Cowpuncher series. But yeah, I would have probably talked to him about that. Probably those two things. So cowboying, and then cattle industry stuff, doings. Both of those. I think by now he probably would have just gone back to some sort of camp job. Nah, probably not. I don't think Mom would like the camp life as much.
He couldn't do that. I would need him to drive a truck or run an elevator.
I think he
or
would have worked for y'all.
Take my kids.
I think he
to
would have definitely worked
a
for
stock
y'all.
show.
Yeah.
In-house ag teacher.
Yeah.
On-site veterinarian.
Where would he have lived? With you? I mean, Nana did for 3 years, so
For a minute.
Pop would have wanted to.
In your basement. In the elevator apartment.
Oh, yeah, he definitely would have lived there.
With our mom.
That would have been weird because, like, that would have been his job, so I wouldn't have came here to have that job in 2015 because he would have been doing that, right?
I don't know. Chet always said that when Dad got old, he was going to put him in a truck and trailer and send him to sale barns to
Be an
buy
order
cows.
buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did like the elevator. He liked being there.
Everybody does. I liked being there. It was hard to leave.
But he liked the actual labor of the elevator.
My intern program is based off what I pay interns and charge for rent is based off of me. Because when I came here in 2015, I worked for y'all. Y'all paid me $12 an hour, and I paid $400 in rent, and that was fine. I was thriving.
No favors, no free lunch.
No, that's fine. It was a nice spot, right above your office. Like I couldn't hide, but yeah. So I paid
And then you
$12 an hour.
us.
And then these containers, I only charge $200 a month for rent, and that really just covers the
That's a nice apartment.
bills.
You got
Yeah,
all the things you need.
40 by 8. What is that? 320 square foot?
No. Oh, your apartment?
No, these
The
containers.
container. Yes.
Y'all's is like 800
800
square
square
foot. But yeah, so all the interns, they work 2 weeks for free, and then when they get paid, it's $12 an hour, and depending on which house they live in, or a container's $200. And then, like, typically a house is $400. But they usually have a roommate. But
Are you asking for a job?
no, I'm just telling you that the reason,
I'd
if
pay
any
you
of these
$12 an
interns
hour
are
and charge
mad
you $400 rent.
at their pay, they can blame you because that's what I got paid when I lived here.
Do you account for inflation or just ranch fuel?
No, but I do
Code Kevin.
think that when you go to school, for instance, you were willing to pay a little higher than normal rent because you were there for an experience. You were there to learn. And that's kind of what this is, except it's not that much higher of a rent.
Enrichment. You just don't get rich.
That's their choice when they chose bull riding. Yeah, I mean, that's not why anybody, if the common saying with rodeo cowboys is if we break even, it's a free vacation. So if you're trying to ride broncs or bulls to get rich, then that either means one of two things. Number one, you're delusional, or number two, you got that dog in you and you think you're about to be the next Stetson Wright, which is good.
You just described Del Brisby.
Most of them are delusional because
both of those things existed when you were like 7 years old.
What's that?
Delusion and dog.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is
he was going to be a Dallas Cowboys football player.
Yeah.
For real.
That didn't have anything to do with the money, though.
No.
That's just because I really liked football. I wanted to be Troy Aikman. Clarence Thomas wanted to be Emmitt Smith. So I was going to wear number 8. He was going to wear number 22.
There's probably still time.
No, there's not. I talked to Clarence about it. He's out. So now I'm out. But the delusion thing is the reason I say delusion. People, they either just don't know that they don't know about rodeo and how much money, most people don't make. And they're just not quite ready to put the work in that it takes to be a Stetson Wright. But then there's the guys that like want to be a Stetson Wright.
I was watching somebody write earlier on Instagram, and it did cross my mind, like, he has to be brain injured.
Who?
I'm not going to.
Oh, just somebody.
I mean, I can tell you the name, but I was just thinking, like, the actual damage being done to his body and brain in the pursuit of something he absolutely passionately loves. And I'm like,
because of the way they were talking, or
no,
you
just
just
that
saw
like
a
slight
wreck?
degree of delusion. No, it was just a rank ride, and I thought you got to be a little off.
Yeah, there is.
You got to have some addiction to the adrenaline pump through your body.
I think sometimes in the beginning people are naive, and so they just move forward with just this crazy dangerous
naive
event.
because they just think it's a good idea or it's going to look cool.
They just don't realize the danger. They're naive to, like, when guys come here, I tell them, hey, before we start, just know you could die. Or in some people's eyes, even worse, you die from the neck down. It's not worse. But, I mean, I'm just saying, like, bad things could happen. Well,
And then
they'll
you tell
hear
them to
me
get
say
on.
it. They'll hear me say it. But, like, very few, by the time they get here, they're like, no, I don't want to, they're naive to the actual dangers. Like, I'm going to be one of the ones that, or they either don't want to believe it, or they're maybe just not quite smart enough to, I don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but then there's some people that they just accept it. They face the fear, they accept the fear, and then they move forward anyway. I really appreciate, the challenge of doing something that makes you nervous. I appreciate the fight. I appreciate during. It feels good to go up against something and to come out on top on the other side of it. I love being on the back of an animal and engaging in that fight. Cowboy Cerrone, for instance, I think there's a lot of people that like to have ridden a bull. In Cowboy Cerrone, UFC fighter, good friend of mine, there's a lot of people that like to have been in a fight. They like to say they ride bulls. They like to say they got in a bar fight. Well, Cowboy Cerrone is not that. Cowboy
We had an
Cerrone,
uncle like that.
Cowboy Cerrone and Uncle Scotty, they loved the actual fight. Cerrone just made more money doing it than Uncle Scotty. But he likes to actually fight something. And then you have guys like J.B. Mooney, for instance, who actually like to ride bulls. And they like when the gate opens between the gate opening and the whistle. And guys like Cerrone and in a street fight, you would hope that you don't have to get up against somebody like Cerrone, And so I think I'm that type of rodeo cowboy.
I think you appreciate like the pursuit of excellence and the refinement of a process, like a skill set that is equally challenging and arduous and unfortunately taxing on your body.
I think it was Michael Chandler talked about the book Wild at Heart. Did you read it?
3 times.
Yeah, a bunch of people have read a bunch. I've never read it, but he just said that it talks about every man needs a fight to fight.
Wild at Heart is why I stopped harping on Dad that he needed to stop riding horses.
Yeah. Because it says he needs a fight to fight.
It was just this scriptural foundedness in the way men are made, and that wasn't mine to continue to deny him in my request for him to stop writing, because I was seeing it from like preservation of this human who I want to be around for the rest of my life, and seeing the toll and the tax taken on his body. At what cost? Well, the cost wasn't mine to determine. I was seeing it. I want you to be around for my grandkids, which wasn't going to matter anyway, but we fought about it.
Yeah.
And please stop doing this. And I read Wild at Heart when I was at A&M, and it changed my perspective on my brothers, my dad, and my future husband.
Yeah.
And now as a mom, we'll read it again in preparation for the season of raising a little man. And to deny that, like, I was just convicted that it wasn't mine to ask him to stop doing that. Something that was purposely placed in him by God, and a really just a divine reflection of who he was made to be in all of his masculinity and like humility and the grace of a human that he was. Like, he didn't walk on water, but he modeled so well this fight for not just the rodeo life or agricultural endeavors. I mean, he's just an epitome of Western heritage and taking something mediocre and making it great.
Mm-hmm.
And so just whatever it is, whatever your pursuit is, if yours is on a bronc or the production of beef, doing the hard thing and making it better. And we're just kind of, I'm rambling here on these things about Dad that you mentioned Wild at Heart. That was convicting for me, that it wasn't mine to tell him to not do something that I thought was dangerous for him whenever it was truly the pursuit of his heart. And it ultimately made him a better human. It made him a better dad.
Yeah, I think about the quote on Open Range when they're in that bar the night before. The whole town's in there, and the dad with two sons is like, we might die. And then what's the actor's name that played with in Open Range alongside
Robert Duvall?
No, not Robert Duvall, but he played alongside Robert Duvall. Anyway, he says there's some things that are worth dying for, essentially. And I don't remember the exact quote, but
I don't think that it was worth dying for, but it wasn't mine to determine for him.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't necessarily him being on a horse that killed him.
No, I think it's...
Like I said, Paul Saladino says insulin resistance. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's some other factors that led up to it. I mean, he died at 55 of a heart attack. I don't think it was beef. I don't think it was rodeo.
I don't think it was beef. I don't think it was rodeo.
I think that there are some other things. Now, in that moment, maybe but I don't know.
Dude, it was his perfect day.
Absolutely.
It's not really like a matter of the microcosm
and he didn't go out.
Of...
He didn't go out like Papa, his dad, did, which was the last 3 years of his life, not knowing who everyone around him was.
So I have a lot of reflection on what I was afraid of when I was little, and like the evolution of those fears into adulthood. And then,
sorry, we don't use the word evolution on this podcast. If you could rephrase that.
Take out the evolution of life and fears. When I was little, I was afraid of certain things. And then when I got older, I was afraid of different things. I try not to be afraid of anything. I just don't, there's really not a lot of room for fear. But I was fearful of what life was going to look like for Dad as an old man with multiple sclerosis and a failing body, unable to do any and all of the things that he had ever done that filled that passion in him and really made up so much of who he was and how he embodied the spirit of Pop. I try not to think about like what it would look like if he were still alive, with that as a factor because, of course, like we just picture him perfect, healthy, and whole, and which is the greatest saving grace of grief for me is that when Dad died, we were talking like, what's Dad doing right now? Mm-hmm. And Jamin said, that scriptures promise that he is resting in perfect health, worshiping our Savior, and waiting on Christ's return. Mm-hmm. And resting in perfect health, that was it. That was all I needed for peace, like protection over my own grief. That's all I ever wanted for him was perfect health. And he was never going to attain that this side of heaven. And in my pursuit of protection, like protecting him from his own choices, like, Dad, I don't want you to continue to get on Bronx. This is going to kill you. Not because you're going to get stepped on.
Oh,
or
you
not 'cause
mean
you're gonna
when
get
that's
hurt.
what you mean when you talk about him getting on? You don't mean just riding a horse.
No, get on a horse.
You mean like
no?
getting
I mean
on a
like he was
bucking
getting on Bronx
Yeah,
as a
but
55-year-old man.
he just did that once.
No,
At 55, he did. Just when we were at that Bronx, he only got on one time, like the 6 months prior to him dying.
No. I don't think that. I'm just saying, like in that season of life, Dad
Yeah,
was
he
getting on
shouldn't
Bronx,
do it.
and I was like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing? Why are you doing this?"
Yeah, no,
What are
you're
you,
right.
What are you trying to prove?
I
it wasn't
agree.
about proving anything to anybody else. Like that was his passionate pursuit, and
I hear all that.
So no, I don't think you deny anybody their physical effort. Like, no, I'm not going to take your driver's license away.
I
I'm not
see
going to
what
tell you
you're
you can't
saying.
ride a bronc. I'm not going to, like, that's for you to decide. So for Dad, Wild at Heart helped me reframe that expectation on him. But in his death, there was a lot of grace around all my fears of what life was going to look like for Dad were relinquished. And I'm not saying that I'm glad he died or anything like that. There were just elements of his passing that gave me a lot of hope for eternity, like the ultimate promise that we will see him again. Mm-hmm. It will be the perfect day for everyone, like what it will look like in heaven. And I'm regretful that he's not here. I'm regretful he doesn't have a chance to see my kids or be super annoying in my show barn. And there's something every single day that I need to know and would call that man about, and I just have to figure it out. So that stinks, but the promise that he is doing those three things, both like heals a broken heart in a way, because, isn't that what we would, if that isn't a good reflection of who he was on earth, and to know that that's how he's fulfilling eternity, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. He got on a bronc at 55 at the All Aggie Rodeo. No, he was 54 because he turned 55 the month before he died in April. In April of 13, he turned 55. In the fall of 12 is when he would have got on that bucking horse. He was 67 points, and he got second. And Aaron Lyde won it. There's only like 5 of us entered. I bucked off. But, oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, that in and of itself was just a blessing from God. He wasn't really going, though. He wasn't going to, like, try to do anything.
No, but I, like, when we
God,
lived
he was
in
on cloud 9.
Memphis, and
Not until May. Then he was really on cloud 9. But yeah, when we lived in Memphis,
he was like pursuing
several years we were going, and
He
that
was
was kind of
going
that was a
and
midlife.
going,
That was a
and-
midlife thing. That was like, yeah, he was going without practicing. He was going without. I mean, he would end up
he
getting
was
on a bucker.
addicted.
Yeah, and I think his binds were too tight, and he kept losing his swells. I know they were. Real talk. He had that old saddle that
Where is that?
I don't know where that particular saddle is. I know where the saddle is that he got on and was 67 points in. That's a Lester Sims. It's in Rodeo Blues. That's also where his saddle is. The TCU saddle that he died in is. But anyway.
This was his.
What year does that one say?
11.
Yeah, so I think I won that one.
Oh, then I don't want it.
I think so. I
thought it
won
was
that
Dad's.
one. I know you do. And we thought it was Dad's. Dad's
where's
is on
his?
my mantle.
Son of a what?
You can swap them. I don't mind.
You told me.
I know. No, I don't remember telling you that because
But
I
you
remember
did.
because he died in 13.
My
Well,
memory
it was only
is
like
significantly better than yours.
6 months before that so that would have been 2012.
Well, you were doing the math a while ago, and I'm like, he's wrong, but I'm not going to tell him.
They give the exact same, but no, they give the exact same buckle every year.
But they gave us an extra buckle when
the next year we
Yes.
went back in 2014.
he was not there.
He was not there. But so Aaron lied won the buckle on my mantle. And after Pop died, at that in 2012, he won it. Pop was second. I bucked off.
This is not a fun story anymore. I don't want.
Well, the buckle exists and I have it and I could swap you for it. But your brother won that one. Isn't that cool?
Womp womp.
The buckles they look identical. The only thing different is the date. And because that's a cool buckle
And
that
this one is
A&M
very
would
well
win.
worn.
Yeah.
What a disappointment. What other
You're going to
lies?
swap it for a brand new one.
I don't want a new one.
Well, then keep wearing that one.
I'm not, but it's
So now
not-
that buckle has double meaning to you.
Does it?
So you thought your dad, I mean, your brother actually won it. That's not the one A-Lad won.
That's better for me. So you gave
At
me a
least you
buckle
didn't think that-
you knew was yours, that you let me believe was Dad's.
I don't remember handing it to you.
You put it on the belt.
I don't remember that. I don't know how you ended up with it. Somebody did. Somebody put it on your belt. I don't remember how you got it, but I remember thinking for years, I was like, man, she thinks that's the one from when Dad got
Because you
on.
told me it was.
I don't think I did. Somebody else did.
You've given me some very specific things, like gifts,
If I
gestures,
did, they got mixed up.
or you got mixed up,
No.
or
I
you
wouldn't.
lied to me.
I wouldn't do that.
Do you
on
recognize
purpose.
this?
Yes, I did give you that whenever I was in. I got that. That's a Tom Spalding cuff. When I went
Spalding.
to Spalding and the S, the way he does the S, he's in Wyoming. I was with Craig
Not
Cameron
the volleyball.
and we met him.
That was the
in,
summer you spent with Craig.
Yeah, and I got that up there. I just thought it was really cool. I was like, I need to give
What
this
were you, like 10,
to
12?
No, I would have been like 14.
16?
It was the second summer. It's either 14 or 13. 14. First summer, I think I was 13.
It was a good gift.
I think so.
You also gave me a pair of Carrie Kelly Spurs,
Yep.
I think after Netflix. What'd you get me for my birthday this year?
I'm a good gift giver. I sent you a text, and it was a good text that said, "Happy birthday, sister. I love you." But I was the first one in the family group text to text it.
Because you're the only one that wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Maybe. We usually do life advice at the end of these. Do you have any life advice?
Well, I really wasn't sure what you wanted to talk about whenever you said come be on this podcast, because I'm certainly not an expert in any of the things that we've talked about, except probably dead dads. But
I think it was good. I think it gave a lot of value. I mean,
I hope you do a lot of cropping and clipping and chopping and deleting. And
how long have we talked, Slick?
Hour 40.
Yeah.
I think life advice is that you need to bring this shirt back.
Weston's mom.
This was a good shirt too. So these are my pleas. We need some new apparel.
Wild Bull Mustang.
This was the OG. Almost wore it.
I do have one of those. It's really faded.
My children.
This is all a rodeotime.com plug.
My children brought you hair products.
Nice.
There's a whole passel.
Can't wait to try them all. I do like a good hair product.
There's some eye drops. Fix
Eye
your-
drops?
Yep.
Why do I need eye drops?
I think you have Horner syndrome.
I have what?
Horner syndrome.
What's that mean?
It's a nerve dysfunction from your brain to your eye. I think this is why you wear sunglasses. I have it. I have the diagnosis of this. And it could be genetic or it could be from head trauma. And so I have my drops in so my eyes open the same amount. Otherwise, they don't. And I got this, what looks like a lazy eye. It's not a lazy eye.
I'll have to look that up. This is the first time hearing of Horner syndrome. This is the first time hearing of it.
Welcome to the club.
I've not ever had life advice with so much props that
I have
came
more.
with it. Yeah. Life advice. Here's some eye drops because I think you have Horner syndrome.
I also brought pictures of you when you were a baby. Want to see those?
Yeah, I bet these are. I was a cute baby. Yeah, that's not as so cute.
You're so dorky.
That was dorky. But that was
So dorky.
that's the kind of dorky picture that screams, I'm gonna be a YouTuber when I grow up.
That's so dorky.
Even
I
though
hope
that
you
was
still
taken
have that
before
shirt.
YouTube.
Your ears are really big.
They are. That's why I grew my hair out.
This one's really cute.
That dude be looking cute. I'm gonna put that in here in the podcast table.
Is this you? I think that's you.
Probably.
I'm kidding. This is one of my favorite pictures.
Do you ever like get a picture like this and you're like
Yeah.
to try to make it picture bigger?
I have all kinds of props. I'm going through
A good day fishing. I thought about going back to Fun Valley this summer.
It's not the same. I mean,
Cabin.
it's the same. It's exactly the same. But turns out we're really not as good of a fisherman or woman as we thought we were.
Cabin number 22.
He always took us to the stocked pond and then paid for all the fish. So we just thought we were really good at catching them.
I was.
Not as
Yup.
good as me.
All you losers may not have been, but I was.
So I need you to bring back these shirts.
I'm not in charge of that anymore. I'm just the podcast host. So talk to Addie if you want to bring him back, or Pecos. He's our in-house designer. So
Why don't you wear headphones?
we do sometimes when I'm closer to the thing.
Why do you have
but
mattresses on the walls?
that's for the sound. They absorb a lot of the sound. But
there are really a lot of things I thought we could talk about. I made a list.
What do you want to talk about?
It's not what I want to talk about. I was just in preparation for the number of things that we could discuss.
Well, I'm not as nervous as you because I'm in control of what gets edited out. So I'll answer any questions.
Your diary. Well, we'll call it a journal.
See, I don't mind you bringing that out because I can edit this out, but I won't.
I just have a lot of that ex-girlfriend I thought we were going to talk about. We should talk about that. We should talk about what you're looking for in a woman.
I'm going to go with short, brunette.
I picture short.
Like short, brunette, maybe green eyes. Know any of those?
There's one girl I follow on Instagram.
What else? What else?
Were we going to talk about?
Yeah.
Or is on your list to be the kind of woman you want to marry?
No. What else do you want to talk about?
Oh, we could talk about your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sheets
I did have those.
until you were like 16.
They were kind of flannel.
We could talk about your vehicles, your like big jacked up Suburban.
I do like a redneck looking kind of rig. I like
You're
lift
talking about women
kits.
or cars?
Both. I like lift kits and big tires, mud tires.
Again, women or cars?
Both. Yeah, that's that 89 Suburban had a 12-inch lift and 44-inch mud tires, and I do miss it. I should maybe try to recreate it.
Did you ever
one
find
day.
Dad's ag truck? We need to
No,
find
but
that.
I've been looking. I message a lot of people. Usually every month I'll go through like a day where I just retext old people. Old phone numbers, like the same people. They're not that old, but just like I'll just hit them up. Help me find that blue pickup from Memphis. That was
I thought you wanted the gold one.
No, I know where that one is. I don't care about that one.
Why do you keep these things? Like the buckle, the gold truck. Why the blue one and not the gold one?
I just like the blue one.
It's a little redneck.
No, I mean, there's just one specific trip we took in it that I like it for.
Did you learn to drive in it?
No, I didn't really ever drive it.
I learned to drive in the truck and trailer.
Yeah, I didn't learn to drive in that one. What's your life advice?
Don't die. What's my life advice? Oh, I don't really have any life advice. Right now in my life, I'm trying to raise good humans. I have really awesome kids, and they make that job easier. But Dad used to say he wants his children to grow up to be better than he was. That's every man's dream for a legacy. And I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
And the creation of these little people into good humans. So I don't have an advice. That's my pursuit right now. Just being a good mom and strategically aligning them with the things that make them better and nurture their soul and grow their relationships with the Lord and each other, that they would have fulfilled, fun relationship with their siblings, and that they're kids who want to come home one day, not come home to stay forever, but like love us and leave us and then come back to hang out.
That's good advice.
It wasn't really, it was just a ramble. It was just
That's what the podcast is.
a rambling with Dale.
Everybody check out rodeotime.com. Don't sell out your cow herd. You're going to have to restock it. And let me know in the comments if you want more beef info. I think we covered it all here with my sister Dancey.
I think we just need more family photos of you.
Yeah.
That would be a fun
Well,
unpacking.
Mom has plenty. Ask her.
I just cleaned out Nana's house. I've got you stocked. Big ears and crooked eyes and all.
And we've heard enough. Thank you. Love you all. Thanks for watching. Love you, Dancey. Thank you to my sister for coming on talking about beef. Oh, pal.